Okay, I'm recording.
Alright, I gotta get my coffee.
Yeah, I mean, do some shit too. Hold up. Okay, I'm gonna try to get like split screen because I remember I did that last time, but I wait. Maybe I can pin. Oh no, I don't want to pin myself. Pin. Can I pin? Can I add? There we go. That's beautiful. Okay.
That's better.
Oh shit.
Okay.
I don't even need my webcam. The webcam useless for podcast. I might as well unplug it. No, never mind. Wait, for no OBS, right? I'm an idiot, bro. Okay, wait, yeah.
Alright.
Dude, it looks so much cooler from this point of view from like the video, like looking at me. You're gonna be like, wow, it's kind of cool.
Oh, that's better. Oh, the man. Just got the Hall of Fame bus. That's awesome.
Man, you know how it is. You know how it is sometimes. Okay, are we doing AFC South, right?
AFC South. Let's start with the Texans.
Of course, the best team in the NFL. Wait, dude, this is so
I
ghetto.
mean, they're gonna be hard to watch, but there's definitely gonna be some guys that are doing stuff for you.
Yeah, yeah. Are you a particular fan of anybody?
What I'm gonna be doing for the Texans is watching Week 1 real close to see who plays the slot,
Yeah,
and then on top of that, if Taylor kind of hones in on them and just, they're gonna be throwing the ball a lot,
yeah,
so it's just a matter of who's gonna get the ball.
right.
Uh, so it's gonna be pass catchers. David Johnson's gonna be eaten as long as he's on the field.
Yeah,
And then Brandon Cooks is like, head and shoulders above everybody else on the depth chart.
Mhm.
So you got to think that it's going to be funneled to those two guys the most.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how long David Johnson lasts. I'm curious to see what Philip Lindsay does, if he gets on the field or not. I think he's a good player, so
Yeah.
hopefully he does. Curious to see what happens with the Anthony Miller trade. Is he going to be the one in the slot? Is it going to be Kiki QT?
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Then they got Nico Collins going to play on probably the opposite side of Brandon Cooks, which will also be interesting because he's like the only big body there.
Right.
Yeah, just want to watch Week 1. Who's in the slot will probably be my favorite person to go after. David Johnson is one that you can take as a RB3 or 4 on your team late in the draft. That's he's not going to hurt you. You know that he's going to be getting the ball. So yeah, I don't hate it. What about you?
Yeah, like looking at the receiver room, it's like Isaiah Coulter and Nico Collins, and it's just like a bunch of really small school late round dart throws that like have no business playing as a starting receiver in the NFL. And then there's Brandon Cooks, and Brandon Cooks has been really impressive actually. I put up some stats. So last year he had the same points per game as Mike Evans, and Mike Evans, I mean, he just caught all these touchdowns. He was wide receiver 14 in points per game, and he's been a top 15 receiver in 5 of the past 6 years. Like, I don't know if you can say that for anybody else in the NFL, but he's kind of just that guy right now. He's sandwiched between Mecole Hardman and Jarvis Landry in ADP at wide receiver 45, and that's just all kinds of intriguing to me because, I mean, he just been a walking high and wide receiver 2 for the past 6 years, and he's being priced as a wide receiver 4. It kind of doesn't make sense to me. I mean, D-Watt probably isn't going to be there, so who's throwing him the ball? But at the same time, he's just been a elite producer and nothing but it, and I don't see why he can't have some success even with like Tyrod Taylor throwing him the ball, I guess. And then the thing for David Johnson is there's just nobody there again, and he was actually very impressive. So I think I might drop that stat in the group chat. But okay, can you guess the top 5 running backs from weeks 15 through 17 last year? Okay, I'm gonna give you 4 other names. So we got David Montgomery, who just went on a tear at the end of the year, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry. And the 5th name is David Johnson, who makes no sense being on the list, but it proves that he was just elite last year. And I believe his snap share was 80+% in 9 of the 10 games that he played. So I mean that's just really rare for any running back. His opportunity share is just crazy, and I mean they didn't add much outside of Shady Pace guy and Philip Lindsay and Mark Ingram, who's watched. So I have interest in both those guys, but I mean outside of that, I don't really know what to say.
Yeah, I'm with you. Those guys are definitely interesting at their ADP, and it makes sense just because the ball has to go somewhere, and obviously everyone's staying away from the Texans because of the whole situation with Deshaun and the coaching staff, and it's just been a dumpster fire for the last 2 years. But that said, it doesn't matter if it's Tyrod or Deshaun. They're gonna, Deshaun would boost those
Right.
ceiling. He's gonna boost the ceiling, but the volume doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a depth piece, when you're like, what they're good for is when you get to that point in the draft and you're looking at your team and you're just kind of like mad about it, and there's not really a lot of meat left on the queue.
Yeah.
Those are two names that you can go for that would help you out. I think just kind of feel better about someone you could plug in that's going to get some points.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I don't like a whole lot of the Texans. I really wish Deshaun would play.
Yeah.
And but
what you gonna do?
What happens there? That's something that I'm just interested to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Entirely.
And I think for guys that like if you're Brandon Cooks, if you're David Johnson, like if you're looking at their names, like you don't want to draft them, like, and the casual football fan doesn't want it, because like, I mean, David Johnson was relevant like a half decade ago. It's like he's like, people just like think he's washed, and they're these like old names that you just don't want. But at the end of the day, like that drives their value down. And I mean, right now there's like they're both going as like RB. Well, I mean, like respectively, obviously, like they're fourth, like RB4, wide receiver 4, like at their position, and it's like that's just a steal, because they've been nothing other than good producers when they're in the career. So like I don't see how that changes. And you're just gonna get a valuable from them. But like outside of them, I mean, there's just nobody. There's no tight ends, no receiver, probably no quarterback. It's atrocious. No defense. I mean, it's really just them for me.
Yeah, and the slot guy, whoever that ends up being, you know that he's gonna get some targets.
Mm-hmm.
So in PPR, that's interesting to see. Maybe he's like that person is a week 1 waiver wire pickup.
Right. And then, I mean, like week 1 DFS too, obviously. QT and Miller will both be pretty cheap, so we'll have to see what happens there.
Right. So, that said, we can just go to Indianapolis.
Okay, that's more exciting.
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor going in the first round. Do you agree with that? Would you take him second half of the first?
I do. I have here 1 second. I have a couple notes on Jonathan Taylor, of course. I don't know what I have listed in my docs. I don't know if it's just Jonathan Taylor or JT, but I can't find him. Anyways, basically, he was going, I believe, in the range of like Aaron Jones-esque territory, where he was like almost like the 7th or 8th player, like off the board. And at that point, it's like where's the upside really? Because I believe he caught 36 balls last year, and that was with like Phillip Rivers, who throws a lot of screens. And now it's like Carson Wentz, so it's like, where can he catch passes? And then Marlon Mack's back, and I was like, at that price, I was like more of a because I mean, I just rather have guys like Jones in that area, or like Stephon Diggs, or you know what I'm saying, just like, because there's just a lot of question marks. But now, after the air quote injuries to Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson, he's like in the Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon tier now, all of a sudden, just like overnight. And at that point, I think I'm in on him, just because he was RB6 as a rookie, which is really impressive, and he wasn't getting work into the second half. So like, just based off that alone, I mean, like, and we obviously know he has an incredible profile, and like Carson Wentz, if you could like twist the narrative, he could be beneficial for Jonathan Taylor, because I mean the offense could be better. It's looking like both Wentz and Nelson will be back by like week 2-3 latest. I mean, like they're shooting for week 1, so like at that point, I mean, I have him at the top of that tier. I mean, and I have no problem taking him like right after an Aaron Jones. But at his previous price, I was just all out. So
yeah, totally agree. Like in the first round, you're choosing him over, like you said, Aaron Jones or Nick Chubb. I would rather have both those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then now in the second, if he is going in the early second round, so that would put him in the mix-in, maybe even Tyreek Hill falls there, or Hopkins, Diggs, and who was that other running back? You said Gibson and who?
Gibson, Mixon, Najee Harris,
yeah,
guys like that.
Yeah, and then Najee, you'd probably have to pick him over Najee, which I wouldn't do.
Yeah, that'd be tough, but
so it's tough. I mean, but then you're super happy if he falls to you in the end of the second because you probably went with a top tier running back first, and if he falls to you, you had a nice little running back duo there for sure. So he's probably going to end up being a boon for somebody's team.
Yeah.
Based on the ambiguity of the situation. I don't know about Carson Wentz coming back.
No.
I think if he comes back, he's just going to get hurt right away.
Yeah.
He hasn't shown me to do anything else other than that.
What, like, was he better than Philip Rivers last year? No. I mean, I don't think.
Lump them together.
Would you like if you're looking forward, like, would you say next year who's gonna have a better year? Like, is it Wentz or Rivers? Like, it's not 100% Wentz. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some merit for like saying Rivers there, and at that point, it's like he's already proven to be injury prone. He's already hurt, getting a surgery. He's not even that great when he's on the field. Like, I mean, that's where you could see a lot of the value for JT Tank is if there's just no quarterback to throw the ball, because at that point, I mean, he's just going to be getting fed and averaging 4 yards a carry out of, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just that's just not appealing to me. But
do you know if it's Wentz's left foot or if it's his right foot? Do you know?
I have no clue. I have no clue.
We would have to hope that it's his left so that he can plant on his back foot.
Right. Wow.
If he doesn't, if his right foot is hurt, it's like even worse for me.
Yeah. And but what's like really weird to me is we kind of heard Quentin Nelson was like hurt, and then that was like, oh, like this is awful, and like sure it hurts because like he's a great player, but like I don't know if I've ever seen anybody react harder to an offensive line rank like JT dropped like 5 spots in like a day, like just because of Quentin Nelson. It's like, dog, like he's missing a week at most, and he's a lineman. Like there's like 2 or 3 plays a game where he gets it, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not that consequential, but that's just funny to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just because they kind of both got hurt at the same time.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a compound thing.
Yeah.
What about the pass catchers? So like if Wentz is hurt, like I wasn't even really I've heard people talking about Pittman Jr.
No.
I think he's talented, but then he's got to learn a new quarterback. That quarterback is now hurt and missing reps.
There's no chance.
It's gonna come down. Someone's gonna get the ball. Obviously, they're gonna have to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not going to these tight ends very much. You might as well get what you can out of Hilton while he's healthy.
Yeah.
You know, it's just too much unknown for me to want to like say I want any of these guys on my team. I'd rather just get someone else.
Isn't just Paris Campbell and him and like Michael Pittman and like ADP like top 2 eyes? Like that's just so ugly. There's like no, like it's awful. I mean there's just a lot of like number 2 options on a passing game, and they're all competing for number 1. They're all kind of just there with each other. Pittman wasn't even great last year. He was wide receiver 79. He had 1 game of 100 yards, which was like half his production. Like, I mean, like Wentz, it wasn't great last year. He's gonna go into the year hurt. Like, I just don't want it. I mean, like, if I'm really desperate and an injured receiver, like I don't mind Pittman, I guess, but like he just like there's just a lot of guys in the area I'd rather have like that are not receivers. You know, like it just doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If you have like a nice team, right? You're feeling good about this team, and you're like, okay, getting towards the end of your draft, and you know you got to pick up somebody that you'll be okay with dropping week 1 or 2,
right?
Or that waiver wire pickup that you're gonna need. Then maybe you take Pittman because it's like you see what happens. Maybe it's good, but you're banking on it's probably gonna be bad. But I'll take a shot, and I'll be okay with cutting this name
right
over the other ones that I already have on my roster, and I don't have to sacrifice someone that I really don't want to cut.
And so
you could use them in that way.
And that's probably good advice. It's just like at the end of the day, if I need an expendable player, I don't really want to draft an expendable. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just not that special. Like there's just not a really reason for him to be on your team in season long, in my opinion. But that's just me, I guess.
But it makes sense that he could end up being the number 1 target.
Oh yeah,
and end up with 900 yards and 6 touchdowns,
which isn't bad.
It's not terrible because Hilton's probably not going to last the entire season, and Campbell's coming off of the injury, and who knows what that's going to look like. And then after that, it's the rookie Strahan. You got and Zach Pascal. And we know what Pascal is. He's a depth guy who's going to be able to fill in for the team, but he's not going to be a world beater, and he's not going to be a fantasy asset outside of DFS flyers or whatever, because it fits your team.
I think this team has like 5 receivers that all clear 400 yards, and nobody clears like 800. Like they're all going to be in like fantasy waiver purgatory, which is, I mean, it kind of sucks, but like that's just how some teams are. Like for the Jets, I like Corey Davis. Like they're kind of similar. I mean, for like for the Jags, I like Marvin Jones, but there's just like certain teams where you're just like no to the entire passing attack, and it's kind of one of them. So
their value comes in like those certain weeks if you hit.
Yeah, and
play them on the weeks that they hit.
Who knows when? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's how it is sometimes.
Totally with you on that. Is there anything else about the Colts that you want to talk about? We just really trashed on the wide receivers, so that's got to boost Taylor's value even more, right?
Yeah, and
they're probably just going to rely on this young guy and get everything they can out of him this year when he's the only stud, really.
Right, and like Taylor could just get absolutely fed, but like you can't take Taylor next to a guy like Jones or Eckler because his quarterback isn't great, his offense isn't great. He doesn't have, and he's not going to catch passes. He's like Derrick Henry with more competition and a worse offense and a worse track record. His floor is really high because he's going to be like getting 200 something carries again, 270, 80 carries, and it's like he's going to be efficient because he's very good, but like he's going to catch like 30 passes and his team's not going to be good. So I don't see touchdown upside and all that stuff.
Yeah, from a projection standpoint, like I'm looking at him right now, I have him with 250 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
And 38 catches on 58 targets because Nyheim Hines is there, and you got to think that he's going to be a factor in the passing game somehow, some way. He's probably one of their best pass catchers. And I put him with 62 targets, but JT could touch 16 touchdowns total.
Oh yeah.
And I got him just under 280 fantasy points PPR wise.
That's where
pretty good.
Yeah, and like if he does reach that ceiling of touchdowns, that's where he gets his like value from. But I mean, with how sporadic Wentz is, I mean it's gonna take a really optimistic projection to get to that ceiling, because like.
Well, you think about it. How are they gonna score if Wentz is mediocre to bad to off the field?
They won't score. That's what I think. No, like really, because like even if you're a really skewed pass to rush touchdown ratio team, like if you're scoring 23 touchdowns, like how many of those can be rushing? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're a really 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 bad offense, like your ceiling for touchdowns rushing is just lower because it's easier to score through the air. Like even if you're throwing to Michael Pittman and Zach Pascal, but like if Wentz is just what he has been the past couple of years, just a decent to above average quarterback, I mean, JT can get there. But like, if he shows anything like last year, like, I mean, JT's just gonna have a really hard time getting anywhere near that production, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call. And with that said, so I'd probably just avoid JT and grab.
Yeah, I just talked myself out of him, kind of. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because he's super talented. So
right.
And it's going to be hard to let him fall to somebody else who has a strong running back already.
Right.
But then that's fantasy for you.
He'll be better on someone else's team than he would for me, probably, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think he's going to be frustrating to own.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see him do well, but then it's going to be like,
You're like, oh, it's not for me, sweet. Yeah.
Okay, so how about Jacksonville? This team's exciting.
I do like Jacksonville a lot. I was looking at the running backs that were going in the Travis Etienne range, and like they just all kind of excite me, like except for David Montgomery, really. But like, I mean, it was like Swift, it was like Chris Carson, like a little bit higher, it was like CH, it was like Gaskin, Davis, like just like all these guys, like Miles Sanders, like all these guys that have like potential 3-on skill sets, and I don't think Etienne is an exception to that, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's J-Rob hiding him. And I mean, no matter how dumb we think Urban Meyer is, he is a coach in the NFL, and like at a certain point, I feel like he will make the right decision to play ETN. And like with his college quarterback, he has all kinds of upside. He's a great receiver, and I think he's a really fair value at like RB20 range. And I'll draft him. So
Absolutely. He's one that I was getting a lot in a lot of mocks that I do, especially in the 5th round.
Yeah.
As like my flex. And
that's
I was just
perfect.
doing a mock this morning, and he's out of the 5th round and now in the top of the 4th.
Oh, okay.
Middle 4th, that if you're lucky. And I get it, because he's gonna catch a lot of passes and he's gonna break off some big runs and some big scores, and that gets people excited in fantasy. It's valuable in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. He makes sense to me as an RB2. I would target him. There's some names that I wouldn't take him over, like Chris Carson.
Oh, for sure.
That's probably the last one.
Really?
I would take ETN over Mike Davis, over DeAndre Swift.
Myles Gaskin.
I would take him over Gaskin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
an RB2.
Yeah, and like there's this like stigma around these like rookie running backs that like you shouldn't draft them because they start slow, but when you're getting a guy at cause last year JT, a 3rd rounder. A couple years ago, Royce Freeman was a 3rd rounder, and I drafted him. But that's besides the point. That kind of sucked. But like when you're getting a guy in the 3rd round, he's like probably your RB2, maybe even your RB1 on some teams. But when he's like in the RB20 21 range, he's just your flex or your RB3, and at that point you can wait until you reach the upside. Like I remember rookie year DeAndre Swift, he got hurt eventually, but like it was like week like 6 or 7, like after the bye, it was like okay, he's like on RB1 now. Like it's like no question, because like he's catching passes, he's fresh, like he's just that guy. And when you have a guy with that much pass catching upside like ETN, and you're getting him that late, especially someone that is projected to peak later in the season, I mean I just really like him there as value as a flex play.
You know what I see ETN turning into is CMC his first season.
Really?
And I remember the buddy of mine who drafted CMC that year, and he played CMC in his flex all season long,
mm-hmm.
and he probably only got 10 touches a game, but he got 15 targets.
Yeah, ridiculous.
All those touches were passes, catches, receptions. So in PPR, that's stupid value.
Oh yeah.
In a half PPR, it's not as great, but it's still very good. So ETN in a PPR format should easily go in the 4th. It makes sense to me.
The history
his
of
ADP has now reached his value.
Right, and the history of like 1st round running backs is just ridiculous. Like in the past 20 years, I don't have that stat on me, but I think it was like 8 of the. This might sound crazy, but I think it was 8 of the 14 running backs drafted in the 1st round were RB1s the first year, in the past 20 years, and it's like that's just ridiculous, because like they're gonna get there. Like if you're spending a pick that early on a running back, your front office wants to justify the pick. Like they're gonna get fed. It was Josh Jacobs as a Raider. It was CEH last year. Like his first game, 25. You know what I'm saying? And like even like when you bust like CEH, I believe he was like RB22 or 21, and like that's where ETN's going. So I mean he's going far closer to his floor like historically than I think people realize.
Yeah, I totally like targeting him. I would probably be upset if I don't get him on my team, to be honest, especially if I have any money on the line.
What about James Robinson? You targeted him at all?
Nah, I lost his number and I didn't call him to get it again.
That's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I don't really care at all. I think he's not going to do anything.
No.
He'll probably get some carries just to keep the workload off of ETN. I don't see why would they?
The best part about James Robinson is when someone else drafts him, mm-hmm. and you're like, oh, like
sick, dog.
Yeah, closer to my guy now. So that's great. But yeah, like there's just nothing there for him, like at all. Like there's there's nothing. I mean, it's really ETN and that's it. And I think J-Rob is still going as like the RB30 or something, which is like ridiculous because like I don't know. And like
He just shouldn't get drafted.
now he has name value too because he was James RB1. You know what I'm saying? Like he was that guy all year last year. He was great, and then it's just like it's just no now forever.
But
So
then was he like actually good, or did he just get a ton of touches?
I mean
I thought that's what it was. He
I
just
mean
kept getting
yeah
the ball.
I mean I think it was just like Leonard Fournette as a Jag. Like he was never good at anything, but he just got ridiculous touches, and here we are. He's RB4 overall. It's like wow.
Weird.
Well,
You know, I just think with ETN coming in and then the rushing upside that Lawrence is going to have, it just doesn't leave a lot left over, if anything, for Robinson. At least not anything that interests me.
right.
So then it goes to Marvin Jones, Chark, and LaVisca.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty cool core. I mean, I'd be excited if I'm Trevor Lawrence to start my career with these three.
Exactly.
Guys. You got three unique players, three very talented players. I want to see LaVisca stay healthy all season. That would be super cool.
Mhm.
He's super fun to watch, and I think he would kind of take over as the one, being the young guy and super athletic the way he is. So, yeah, LaVisca is super interesting to me, and he's the one that I would take over the other guys, or over anyone else in the pass catching core of this team. What about you,
Dude? I just want to talk about Marvin Jones because he's incredible for zero reason. So like right now, it's like Visca and Chark going like back to back kind of, and Marvin Jones is just like way falling behind. Right now he's going as the wide receiver 56, and Shark and Shark and Chenault. I was about to say Lenal. Are wide receiver 36 and 37 respectively. So he's like 20 spots behind them in terms of that.
Wow.
But Marvin Jones. Yeah, so Marvin Jones, as a 23-year-old in 2013, was wide receiver 29. And then he has a couple decent years putting in wide receiver 3 performances back-to-back years. And then in 2017, he was wide receiver 12. And then in 18, when he was healthy, he was wide receiver 27 in points per game. Then in 19, when he was healthy, he was wide receiver 16. And last year, he was wide receiver 18. So just like Brandon Cooks, he's been nothing but a wide receiver 2 in his career, even a wide receiver 1 at times. And I was going as a wide receiver 6. Like he's done it across multiple teams, multiple quarterbacks, and he just produces everywhere he goes. And yet here he is going as a wide receiver 6. So
Yeah.
I'll take him whenever I can.
Nailed it. He's definitely undervalued. You know, it's just as simple as that.
And it's like who wants to draft Brandon Cooks? Who wants to draft Marvin Jones? It's like nobody wants these old names because like they're not exciting, but like they're gonna be wide receiver 3s again, wide receiver 2s again, and they're gonna exceed ADP and help people win leagues. But it's not exciting to click draft, so people don't do it. And it's like just I'll take it every time, you know.
Yep. So with that said, it's the pass catchers could kind of go any way. It just depends on who Lawrence
Right.
likes the most, I think. And then what kind of system Urban Meyer implements. If we're going to see a lot of 3 wide receivers, maybe we see 4 wide receivers, or they start with 3 and then flex a running back out or something. It's going to be interesting to see what that offense looks like as a whole.
Right.
But Trevor Lawrence, anything about him? I think he's going to be good.
Yeah.
He's going to make these pass catchers valuable. What do you think his season ends up looking like? Do you think he can break like 4,000 yards as a rookie?
I just have no clue. I'm so over trying to project rookie quarterbacks. It's like the most impossible task in fantasy. Like Justin Herbert, like he played because Tyrod Taylor got his lung punctured, and then he was like QB6. Like you can't make it up. I mean, like it's so hard to predict. I mean, Joe Burrow comes in, he's good. Baker Mayfield is good, and like he could be a Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, but like there isn't a ton of upside. I mean, as a rookie on a bad team, but I don't really have a take. I'm just kind of over rookie quarterbacks in general, so I probably won't have him. But I mean, he could burn me and be QB8, which wouldn't really be burning me. But I mean, he could be decent, but I don't have him. So
I mean, when I was doing the mock this morning, and one of my favorite things now to do is to just get my defense and kicker out of the way before the last round.
Yeah.
And take a quarterback in the last round as a backup.
Yeah.
To whoever I took. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And one of those, there's two names that I target in that last round, and it's Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance. And Trey Lance is obvious. It's the second half schedule is retarded for them.
Yeah.
And he's just gonna be running out there a lot. So I would just draft him in the last round and hold him until week 7 when he probably takes over, or week 8 after the bye. I think it is. And if he starts earlier than that, then great. But it's easy to pair him with someone like Kirk Cousins. You can take Kirk Cousins in the 14th round and Trey Lance in the 15th round, and you're set for the season.
That's great advice, actually. I was just thinking about guys, because like Kirk Cousins is kind of like the Tannehill light, where like they're both undervalued and they're both gonna produce, but like you don't want them, and like Cousins isn't going anywhere because his best receiver is one of the best young receivers in the league, and he's just getting better. I mean, Irv Smith could play well. I mean, Thielen isn't going anywhere. Like he's that guy. But that's, I mean, like, this isn't about Cousins, but I'm a big fan of him in general this year.
It just makes sense if you look at their schedules.
Yeah.
The second half for the Niners is very nice, and the first half for the Vikings is very nice.
Right.
They start week 1 with the Bengals. I know that. So even just week 1, if you want to treat him as a streamer and take him in the 14th round and then see what happens, it's just going to provide more value in your depth chart.
T-Law, though, man, I just don't know, because he's this incredible prospect, and he's going to a team with weapons, but like at the end of the day, I just don't have any way of knowing at all, and I don't really want to try to know. So
when I look at this team and you see, all right, so Robinson and Etienne in the backfield, you got 3 very good wide receivers like we talked about, or at least NFL wise.
Yeah.
Maybe not fantasy wise, but NFL wise, they're going to be good for Lawrence and his development. So what is that going to do to the coaching staff? Like, and you're looking at it, you're going to want to do everything you can to get Trevor Lawrence up to speed passing wise in the league right away, so that by the end of the season, he maybe has his full confidence and is ready to go. I think this team kind of ends up looking like the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh.
When you break it down like that, it's going to be lower to mediocre rushing volume that is split between the backfield and the quarterback, and then a lot of passing on top of that quarterback's rushing.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
You could end up, as far as like volume goes and the way that the team is run, I think it'll end up like Josh Allen and the Bills.
Right. And
so,
if it end up anything like that,
into the top 12.
Oh, for sure. And like for a guy like that, you're not looking for upside of like QB 2, 3, 4. Like, you're just looking to get somewhere that's like startable, and like that's definitely possible. But I mean, I like, if I'm gonna punt quarterback, I'm gonna punt and go like Danny Dimes, and you know what I'm saying, just like way later. And I just don't see a path where T-Law like wins my league, and I mean, at that point, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to pull the button on that, I guess. But
I mean,
whatever.
How many rushing touchdowns do you think Trevor Lawrence is going to have? I bet he has more than Etienne and Robinson.
Really?
I bet he does. Yeah. I bet that he's the goal line back.
And if that's the case, then we're looking at crazy upside, because of like he became Newton, but just with a good arm, you know.
I have him with 22 passing touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and 7 rushing touchdowns.
7, really? Wow.
7. And that puts him. He gets over 300 fantasy points there.
If he gets there, yeah, that is really interesting, actually. I didn't think about the rushing aspect. Cause like, isn't he huge? Like, isn't he like just humongous?
He's big. You know, he's gonna be a good goal line presence. Wow. I'm telling you. I think he easily gets 7 rushing touchdowns on minimal attempts. I only have him with 65 rushing attempts and 550 yards on the ground.
If he gets to 7, I mean that's a whole different thing, you know? Because I mean there aren't 5 quarterbacks that will get 7 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, it'll probably be Lamar, Allen, Kyler, T-Law, and some. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
it, probably, yeah.
That's elite territory there. So
should be in that conversation with those guys and their rushing upside
Interesting.
around the goal line. Not the volume of Lamar and and Kyler because he's not gonna. I don't think he
Oh.
breaks 100 rushing attempts.
Oh, no way.
Not even close. So 65, I think, is a little optimistic, but not out of the realm of possibilities by any means. But yeah, I really think he is going to be a goal line presence.
Yeah.
And that's going to be his boom.
And I didn't think about that, so that's good to think about. Because I mean, if he ends up getting there, I mean, he will be ADP and by a lot. Because I mean, that's just a lot of rushing touchdowns, you know. So interesting.
And if you, I mean, 15th round, like I said, your last pick, it doesn't.
I'm sold. Yeah, nice. But what you gonna do?
So Tennessee Titans.
Oh, okay. This team, there's really 4 names on it. I mean, 5 if you count Ferkser. Tannehill, obviously, the 2 receivers, and Derrick Henry. Where do you stand on the receivers? Because I'm having a really hard time making up my mind.
They're going to be good.
Yeah.
I think, Tannehill's been so efficient, right? And that's and you could say that about the Titans, I guess, as a whole.
Right.
And now they have the new OC, and you have to wonder if how much does it change? How much does the efficiency change with the offense? I believe in the talent of the team, so you have to think that they're going to just be really good.
Mm-hmm.
A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, I have no issues taking either of them at their ADPs. I'd be very happy with that, with A.J. Brown as my wide receiver 1 or Julio as my wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
Julio is even falling more now, I think, because he's doing Julio things and being injured in training camp.
Yeah, and that's just what he does, you know.
He does.
The thing for me is, who's to say that, and like the answer is probably you and everyone else, but like, who's to say hypothetically that like Julio it just isn't better than AJ Brown right now, like just like straight up. I mean, he was kind of the prototype for that receiver. He was kind of like the original one. He was 4th in yards per out run last year, so he still has it when he's on the field, and like maybe I mean like Ryan Tannehill better passer than Matt Ryan at this point in their career. I mean, who's to say that Julio just doesn't come in and outproduces AJ Brown? Like it's not likely, obviously, like projection wise, but I mean, just given that possibility, given that Julio was the prototype to what AJ Brown is, I'm taking Julio as ADP all day over AJ Brown, and that means I don't get AJ Brown that much because I'll take Julio.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like the Marvin Jones argument, similarly. It's just a much higher one.
Right.
You know, there's no way that, I mean, unless he's not on the field, he's not going to outproduce that. There's no way he doesn't outproduce the ADP.
Right.
So, if you're in the draft and you have that wide receiver 2 slot open, I don't see a reason to pass on him.
The only thing is that I mean, we've seen 2 receivers on low passing value teams just like last year when Thielen and Jefferson both be wide receiver 1s, I think. But like, it's just gonna take something really crazy, like crazy touchdown luck, or just like something like an injury for a couple weeks to AJ Brown for Julio to get like an elite ceiling. Because at the end of the day, this is a run first offense, and you're not throwing that much, and the other guy that's throwing to is just as good as you. So I mean, it's gonna be hard for Julio to crack the like top 5, 6, 7. But I mean, I mean, like even as a guy that chases the upside, I'm fine inheriting that. So.
Yeah, I mean, talent.
Yeah.
You want talent on the roster.
That's it.
And he still has the upside, and you know he's going to get volume because they went out and traded for him and so on. So they're going to use him as long as he's on the field.
This is probably the cheapest Julio's been in what, 6, 7, 8 years, maybe more.
Easily. Yeah,
maybe 8, and like at that point, why not? Like it's an all-time low risk, and he's on a new team with a good quarterback. I mean, I'm all over him, you know.
Right.
But
I'm not generally a fan of like wide receivers moving teams and like investing in them in their first year at a new team.
Right.
It's not generally so easy. But Julio Jones is he's in a category of his own.
Yeah,
so
I mean, he's one of the best ever.
For the doubt and take the chance on this particular guy and situation, I'm okay with it.
But who I'm really looking forward to is the guy that gets to throw to Julio and AJ Brown now, because I mean he's been the premier late round quarterback, but like he's just it now. He is he's going to outproduce his ADP by a lot. I don't know what it is right now, but he was QB7 if I'm not mistaken last year, and he was QB3 or 4 2 years ago in his like 10 game sample that like he was there. So like just a legit elite fantasy quarterback the past 2 years. I mean, we keep saying regression is coming, but it doesn't. And now you add one of the best talents of all time to the roster. Like,
Right.
there's nothing that can go wrong here with Ryan Tannehill.
Totally agree. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he's very close to Patrick Mahomes in points per game.
Yeah, seriously. And that's Patrick Mahomes.
So
QB1.
that's enough said right there. You know, if you just wrap your head around that, it's a screaming value.
What's crazy is I just thought of this. The like direct the direct contrast between like Derrick Henry is the guy that we're always like harping on. We're like, oh, like he is the outlier. Like you just deal with it. Like he's the outlier. Like he doesn't regress. But Ryan Tannehill is the guy that has always been supposed to regress but doesn't. Like they're both there, and we keep saying like Tannehill, this is not sustainable, but he just keeps doing it. And I mean, maybe it helps because he's teammates with like the other guy that does that. But like I think at this point, I mean, we can say the Titans are legit. I mean, it's been 2 whole years. They've been dominant, and I mean they're all gonna smash again, all of them.
They are. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the new offensive coordinator, and you would have like that dude would have to be one of the worst coaches, like an Adam Gase.
Oh my God.
To ruin this team. That's what it would take.
I don't think Gase could. Oh no, never mind. He could, but
Gase could ruin it.
Yeah, of course he could. He can do anything he wants to.
So Derrick Henry, love him.
Yeah.
So good. Let's talk about. Do you think he gets a little bit more passing volume, which is what everybody wants to see? I gave him only 18 targets on the game. That's like 1 a game.
Yeah, and that's a fair projection. I don't know. The one stat that I keep coming back to is Derrick Henry last year averaged 20.8 points per game in full PPR. 20.8. That's a really good season. That might even win you a couple leagues. But Christian McCaffrey in 2019 averaged 29.5 points per game. 9 full points per game more than Derrick Henry did. And Derrick Henry had the 5th most rushing yards in the history of NFL in a single season last year. So his ceiling is just nowhere even close to anybody in the first tier running backs to me. Like it's simple. You get a point per catch, and he's catching 80 less balls than Christian McCaffrey. That's 80 points. I mean, that's just 80 points right there. Like it's impossible for him to his ceiling is like legit like RB3, and his floor is like RB6, and he's going in that range, so like it's fine. But like I'd rather have a guy like Saquon Barkley that can finish RB1, or a guy like Zeke that I know has caught like 70 balls in a year. I mean, it's just a preference thing to me for upside, but I can see why you would take Derrick Henry because like his floor is like RB6,
You know that he's safe.
Yeah.
That's it. You know that he's going to get volume, and that's why he makes sense there.
Yeah.
And he's going to get a lot of volume and probably touchdowns.
Oh, so many. And like he's so safe, but like he can't do anything else. Like he ran for 2,000 yards and scored 20 times, and he was the RB3. Like you can't do better than that,
Yeah, I mean, and you think about it. I guess there is a world where he comes out and puts up 5 straight games with 60 yards in each and no touchdowns.
Oh.
And you want to shoot yourself.
Oh yeah.
That's definitely possible. So with that, I guess maybe he isn't as safe as some would like.
And like I was thinking, so there's a very real chance for Derrick Henry more than like anybody in the first tier. Like people have risk for like different reasons, but like Derrick Henry's risk comes at this point. Like he's such an outlier, and like this is like harping on all the time, but like he literally could just break down, like inexplicably, just like break down one day, and just like stop working because you aren't supposed to get that many touches, like ever. Like nobody has gotten this dense of a rushing touch share in this like short of years, and I mean, he could just break down. I don't know if it's a 5% chance or 10% chance, but like there is a small chance that he just breaks down, out for the year, or just starts becoming like ineffective right away. And like that, I mean, that could happen. It's within the range of outcomes. So
Absolutely, I'm glad you brought that up because I've heard some stats and stuff about that, and basically nobody who's ever received a similar workload has finished this season that he's coming into.
Yeah.
It's nearly a guarantee based on history that he gets hurt. So with that said, yeah, he's an outlier. Yeah, he's a monster. Yeah, he's the Yeti. But you know,
At a certain
NFL
point,
is NFL, and these guys only hit harder every year. They only get bigger and stronger and faster every year on defense as well. It's not just the Derrick Henrys who are getting bigger and faster and stronger. The Aaron Donalds are getting bigger and faster and stronger too. So, Darrington Evans is someone that I'm taking in the 13th, 14th,
Really?
15th round when I can because of this. When I heard the fact that Derrick Henry got so many touches in such a short amount of time, the history behind that, it makes sense to cover yourself with a late running back like that who could fall into 15 touches a game.
yeah.
On a good offense.
Um,
That has good wide receivers to take
great.
the defense away. I mean, if Darrington Evans gets in there, the defensive approach against the Titans will change entirely, and in a way that would help Darrington Evans be successful. So,
I'm off for I'm off for Evans like that. But do you think Evans is more of like the Tony Pollard type, where if Zeke is out, Tony Pollard is an RB1, or is he more of the like Alexander Madison type, where if Dalvin Cook is out, he may or may not be an RB2? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he a direct handcuff or not, do you think, to Derrick Henry?
I wouldn't say he's a Pollard.
No.
But that's only because we haven't seen him on the field enough. It's possible. I think that he has that ceiling. But I wouldn't bank on it. I would bank on him being slightly less productive than Pollard. So
Yeah.
Maybe more of a Madison, but still he's going well behind those guys.
Oh, yeah,
in
for
class.
sure.
So when you're looking for those high upside handcuffs, I think he makes sense in the 13th, 14th, 15th round more so than a lot of other picks.
He has that upside because, like, more than anybody, like, Henry could just break down. So I mean, like even holding him for a week, 2 weeks, like, you're getting small incremental edges over everyone because you're just giving yourself a little bit more upside. You know, like, instead of holding a second tight end, I mean, you can hold him, and like if Henry gets hurt, you just saved like 100 fab. You have an RB2, and it's like it's instant. That's something that can tip the odds of winning your league, like, in the first week, like from like even to like stacked, like, right away. Because I mean, if a guy like Evans is like that, I mean, he's probably valued as an RB2, and he's just on your team for free. So I like that a lot too.
You have to think that with the volume, he would be a weekly RB2 play.
Yeah.
You know, easily.
And I mean, who can use that? Because right now a weekly RB2 is going in the 4th, 5th round, which is just, it's free money in the 13th. Then even if it's just like upside at that point.
Right. Absolutely, and probably another name that you're okay cutting in week 1, 2, or 3.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, there's gonna, like, I'm not saying it's Henry, but there's gonna be a guy like Darrington Evans that takes over for a guy like Henry. And we don't know when it's gonna be, but like at a certain point it's gonna be there. So just giving yourself all those bullets to capture that 1 week where you're saving all your fab. I mean, just like getting ahead of your league 1 week ahead.
Exactly.
It's always great.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely going to be somebody who does that, like you said. So, and then tie in the history that we were talking about. The chances of it being Derrick Henry, he's the top of the list. So, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He's more risky. His risk is more obvious through injury than anything. I'd say, because like, if he's there, he's gonna produce, but he has the highest injury risk of anybody not named Saquon Barkley in the first round, I'd say. So.
Yep. There you go.
Who who's the other team? Colts. Did we talk about everybody really?
We did. We wrapped that up fast.
Really? Colts, Texans. Man, that's kind of a boring division, isn't it?
It is.
Colts, no receivers. Jags are kind of cool. I like the Jags.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with them at least. I would like to see them do well.
I liked your Trevor Lawrence bit because like I didn't think of him. I mean, because like we had seen him versus Ohio State. I mean, just like galloping down the field and getting a bunch of yards, but like thinking of him as a guy that could actually score 5, 6, 7 times on the ground. I mean, that just makes his upside that much more.
I think that that's a very real possibility.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins had 5 rushing touchdowns in a season.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
in
Uh,
Washington.
Dak Prescott has scored, I think, 6 or 7 in every year, and we don't think of him as mobile at all. So,
Right.
wow, that's crazy. Cause T-Law is huge. Like here, I'm gonna look it up real quick, but I think he is like a very 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 large human. Trevor Lawrence height weight. I can't even type right now. Height weight. Wow, it really didn't even pop up. That's unfortunate.
I mean, and think about it too. He's a competitor,
Yeah.
so he's gonna want to punch those in. He's not gonna shy away from it, especially not in his first year. Maybe after he takes a few knocks at the goal line, maybe he'll get he'll think twice or whatever. But I think right out the gate, he's gonna be trying to get in there and punch him in and be the hero.
Wow. And like we saw a far less talented arm in Josh Allen do that as a rookie, and he was relevant at times. So, I mean, if T-Law can get even close to that, like we know he's an elite arm talent. He has weapons. He actually doesn't make sense as a later on upside guy now. That's a good one that I wasn't thinking of before this. So yeah, thank you.
Definitely, especially if you're gonna pair him with someone, you could do, and then you don't have to worry. You could do the streaming game without actually streaming,
Right.
Or without actually going to the waiver wire, I should say.
Right.
You pair him with someone like Kirk Cousins, I guess, if you want to go really cheap. But if you go like Tannehill even, and maybe Tannehill is not hitting that proficiency like he was,
Right.
and he's because it's a new offense or whatever, and it's a little slow at first. You could probably just stream those two guys based on matchup or whatever, and be okay.
100%.
They're both going to present this similar rushing upside too, right? Did you call Trevor Lawrence Tannehill light?
I mean, I don't know who the better, because didn't Tannehill play receiver in college for a little bit?
He did.
Oh yeah, I mean like they're both slept on, but like I mean I could see T-Law just like scoring more because he's built like a Cam Newton almost. Like he's very big, and I'm not saying that he's gonna be put on the line like that because Cam Newton is just reckless with his body right now. But I mean like even if he can get half those looks where like it's a 3rd and 4, like at the goal line, and he just said, hey, like I'm gonna try it because like I'm really big and I have a good line, and I'm just gonna go for it. I could see that, and that'd be a very 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 good value. I think it's like QB 14, 15, 15, 16 maybe, like right around that Burrow range. So, I mean, he has more upside than Burrow for sure with one knee. So I like that a lot.
There you go.
Well, I don't know what to say.
That's it, bro. It's unfortunately it's the end of the day,
Damn.
and I got to get ready to go play some golf with Dad.
Oh, that's how it be sometimes, man. That's how it be sometimes.
Yes, sir.
Well,
We'll link up and we'll get into the AFC West next.
AFC West, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that wraps up the AFC for us. So let's get that out later this week.
Okay. Do mornings work good for you? I mean, like
This is fine.
if it's this
At
time.
least for now. Let's plan on this for now until you get to school and see what changes.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, sounds good with me.
Rock on.
All right, dog. See you later.
Enjoy your day.
You too.
Peace.
Damn, we out.